So I have with me Dr. RajSekhar Reddy. He is the owner for Mirchi and Mime and Mandira and Mime. It's a Madira and Mime, sorry. It's a cafe run by the deaf and dumb stewards. Okay, better now? Yeah, it's a cafe run by deaf and dumb stewards, right? All ladies or it's a mix? All girls? It's a mixed crowd. Okay, good. Then I have Mr. Harsh Kedia, a diabetic chef. He is known as a conscious Mitthaiwalla. Am I right? I'm just doing this because we just had a small word with them. And of course, the rest, they're going to introduce themselves. I'll hand over the mic to them. We have Dr. Abhinav Sinha, the protein chemist scientist, if I'm correct. Yes? I'll ask all of them to introduce and give a little more detailed version about what they're doing and how they are doing. And I'm your moderator. I'm a chef, Chef Gunjan Goela. My strength has been working on Indian vegetarian food and working on sustainability. So I shall open my question to Harsh. Harsh, you say you were working on sweets which are for diabetic patients. Now, diabetes and sweets are two controversies. How do you match them? Okay. My question. But first, before that, you please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. I don't know how many of us were in the morning session. So for the interest of the room, I'll speak a little bit about what I do. I currently run two brands. One is called a Diabetic Chef. It's packaged diabetes-friendly chocolate-based and sweeteners packaged. A parallel of the business is B2B, where I help and enable cafes, restaurants, hotels become more inclusive because 1 in every 4 people today is diabetic and they don't get desserts. So like growing up, whenever we would go out, mom, dad and I could not eat anything sweet at restaurants. And the easiest get out of the dessert cart is getting a chocolate-based dessert if you have the right chocolate. I started Diabetic Chef as a school project. I just made a blog. It's been 12 years I've been working on it. Conscious Mitthaiwalla came in last year in November, exactly about a year ago. Because 2-3 years back during Diwali, we didn't have sales in Diabetic Chef and I was like, why are people not buying chocolates? To only realize that India celebrates Mithai and Mithai celebrates India. To realize that people like me, if we want to celebrate, we want Mithai. About 8 months of research and the last 10 years in the industry of working with pastry chefs, we were able to curate it. Coming to the whole diabetes and Mithai part of it, our Mithai is not just for diabetic people. Our Mithai is healthy for the gut and it is healthy for your system. So it won't accumulate into trans fat, it won't accumulate into your sugar levels, cause gut health issues.
And I think it's self-explanatory. When a diabetic patient can eat, anybody else can eat. It's safe for everyone.
That's a misconception that a lot of people have, that if it's for diabetic people, normal people, quote unquote, should not be having it. And it's a sort of a dumbing down situation. Like you have to explain to your consumers how it is, what it is, because when we were doing Diabetic Chef for the last so many years, we realized that when people see the word diabetic on a brand, they're like, "Arey humko nahi, hum kyun khaye?" But now when it's conscious and I ask you, are you health conscious? You're like, yeah, I am health conscious. या तो शर्म से बोल देते कि हाँ मुझे health conscious हूँ, या तो they're actually off sugar in some way.
I think everyone is very conscious these days. They are worried about their calories. They are worried about their lifestyle. So that's a very good step. I would now like to ask you a question. What is your contribution in making the menus or making your product so interesting that it is complementing your profession and also giving an added advantage to the consumer?
So the idea of designing a menu always should be consumer first. This is what I've realized across the last few years that I've worked on. A lot of times what a lot of brand owners who are handling the P&L, the finance side of it, like Chef said, don't have chefs on the board. Like we don't have a lot of chefs running businesses. So looking at their P&L, they would want to add a lot of maida related stuff because it's cheaper to consume, a lot of sugar heavy stuff. What happens is you need to know what the consumer really wants. Now I know exactly what my consumer wants. So I know that they want something sugar-free. But sugar-free is not just removing white sugar, adding good or jaggery, and shoving some मैदा और like some fatty food in it, palm oil डाल दिया, तो मेरे P&L पे अच्छा लग रहा है, but मेरे consumer खा सकता है कि नहीं ये मुझे मालूम नहीं है. Which is why we studied the entire consumer segment कि इनको ये नहीं खाना है. Like a lot of people don't prefer dairy, so we have vegan options. A lot of people are gluten intolerant, तो थोड़े gluten free options है. And at the end of the day, it's mithai. It's supposed to taste good. So we ensure that your mithai tastes 95% close to what an actual sugar mithai is. If anyone's interested, I've carried some mithai with me. We can sit and chat in the speakers
See,
lounge.
the whole idea of having a mithai is satiating your mind and your soul, because this is a comfort food. Mithai is not something that you have to have, you are hungry and you will finish your meal with a mithai. It will be one part of the meal. So that has to be very complimentary. That has to be something which gives you a lot of comfort. So I'm moving to my next speaker, Mr. RajSekhar Reddy. Mr. Reddy, you're running this beautiful cafe. I've been hearing from people, although I'm not from Mumbai. And it's a very good move that you've done, that helping the deaf and dumb people and in employing them. You're serving not just that particular community, but the nation as well. That's a great job done, sir. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Reddy. We run 3 outlets by the names Mirchi and Mime and Madira and Mime. 2 outlets are located in Powai. Those of you who are from close by may have visited. We started about 8 years ago, and our specialty is all our waiters and speech and hearing impaired. So which means across 3 outlets we have 25 into 375 speech and hearing impaired staff working for us. Apart from using the speech and hearing impaired wait staff, because people would come and visit the place just one time to see how speech and hearing impaired people work, but the food and experience has to call them back, right? So our entire focus is on the experience, and we discovered through our path over the last 8 years that customers really enjoy interacting with speech and hearing impaired wait staff. And most of the time they would shoo away the speaking managers that you go, I will handle them. So that's been our experience. Having said that, we are also trying to expand across the country. I mean, pre-COVID and post-COVID, there has been a lot of difference. Now it's a lot more difficult for brick and mortar outlets to expand. So that's what we are just now.
Oh, okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I just missed a point. Tell me one thing, what are the challenges you face when you design a menu or you designed your restaurant? And what are the expectations from the guest to the server?
Yeah. So as far as customers are concerned, we have zero pressure or zero training or zero expectation from a customer, because we don't want a customer to feel at any point in time that, oh, there are deaf and mute waiters, I don't know how to deal with them, so I don't want to go there, or it's going to be difficult, right? And we never even advertise that our waiters are deaf. So most of the time the customers come the first time, or they hear from someone the first time and discover that the waiters are deaf. Then, so the second impediment is like, how do I as a customer communicate with the waiters? We give no training or no expectations or no briefing to the customers, except we tell them all our waiters are deaf and mute. Most of the customers we found, they discover how to communicate, right? So going back a little into the psychology, all of us know some kind of sign language. It's not a formal sign language, but between the ages of 0 to 2, 0 to 3, before we learn to open our mouth, we have used signs like भूख लग रहा है, गर्मी है, मुझे नहीं चाहिए, और यहाँ दुख रहा है, और these things like this we have communicated to our mummy, papa when we were a child. And forget at that time, but even now, if you want a glass of water and you are busy on the phone or something, you would easily gesture कि पानी लेके आओ, fan on करो, or AC बंद करो, and these things we just use gestures. So for normal communication, we don't require to open our mouth to communicate. And this is what we found that customers discover in the first 5-10 minutes. And that thing, like customers discover how, like you want a glass of water. There are various ways you can ask for a glass of water. You can do this, or you can do this, or you can do this, feeling thirsty, or various formats. And what we found that customers design their own sign of asking for a glass of water. So what happens here, the customer has designed a communication. Second, the waiter has received that, and 90% of the time they understand what the customer is trying to communicate. And it's not over there. The waiter relays back the right format of how to say that. Like for example, you want ice in your water. So ice, the actual sign is like this is the symbol for I and this is the cube. So you ask for this. But some people may ask for ठंडा चाहिए, or like कि कुछ उसमें डालो, or like कि ये whatever, you make your face, you make your gesture, then the waiter understands and the waiter relays back the right format. So what happens here is, first the customer has designed his own language, second the waiter has understood, third the waiter has relayed back the right sign language, and fourth the customer has learned a new sign. This whole experience has created a new sense of customer engagement. So leave alone food, so this is the first part. Normally when you go to a restaurant and when you order something, the waiter brings it and you are in a conversation with your friend. He comes and says कि एक दाल मखनी, एक rice और कुछ चाहिए sir, and you are very reluctantly, you break your conversation and you say कि नहीं नहीं बस. But here, because they cannot hear and they cannot talk, so they wait for and they say excuse me, and until you break your eye contact and you look at them, and then they place that, and invariably because they cannot talk, their opening statement is a smile, and smile is when somebody smiles at you, we smile back. There's no other option. We smile back. So that is the biggest icebreaker that happens. And the connect between the waiter and the customers. It's not the manager and the customers, by the way. It's the connect between the waiter and customer starts at that point in time. And we have dwelled on this whole experience issue. But at the same time, we didn't want to neglect the food, because the customer would come back for the food and not for the deaf and mute. Hamari kuch liye hai. Like people may enjoy it, not enjoy it, whatever, but at no point in time it should become an impediment. So our entire focus is on creating sustainable employment for the deaf and mute, which is like much higher than any other waiters. Compared to the speaking waiters, our wages are higher, our benefits are higher, we provide them mediclaim, medical expenses, etc., which is very different. So that has been, sorry, I'll go on and on.
No, that's a great job done. I must say, that's a very good kind of a work that you're doing, not only for the society, but for the nation itself. The third panelist we have is Mr. Abhinav Sinha, a protein chemist scientist. Now, it's the first time I'm hearing somebody who specializes in protein. Am I right? So you please tell us something more about yourself, because very interesting to know that what you're doing is making, in particular, the protein-based food. Let's hear from you.
Thank you so much. First of all, before I talk about myself, I must congratulate Raj on the amazing product he's created through Mirchi and Mime, Madira and Mime. One of my favorite restaurants in Bombay, even though I live very far away, it's the experience is phenomenal, and you feel special, going there and interacting with people. You realize that, while we say that they are disadvantaged, you realize that those people have a certain extra skill that you don't have, right? So fantastic, and apart from it, the food is great. So thank you. Pleasure to be meeting you. So I'm Abhinav. I am a co-founder with this brand called GoodDot. We are a plant protein company. We are based out of Udaipur, Rajasthan. We focus on creating simplifying this whole space. So lots of you here would have heard of plant proteins and sort of equated it with being a very niche segment, a very, let's say, expensive segment, relevant for vegans and so on. We are saying it's plant proteins, like when we have roti dal, the dal is a plant protein. So plant protein is nothing Frankenstein, nothing out there. It's our regular food. We are saying that, okay, we can create, give it to you in a different format. We can give you new textures that you can sort of enjoy on a culinary basis. Now this product, because of the ingredients that are going in there, is going to be nutritious for you. It's going to have high protein, high fiber, and so on. So it digests well, and you feel good consuming it. At the same time, plant proteins, if you guys are aware, are going to be a very important pillar of food security for the whole world going forward. In fact, we at GoodDot were surprised to find ourselves in a white paper by The Economist at London as one of 3 global best practices towards food sustainability, right? Saying that, okay, the protein demand of the growing population of the world and the more affluent population of the world cannot be met going forward. with just animal proteins. So plant proteins have to be a big part of it. And what we are trying to do is trying to democratize it. We are saying this is not something that is relevant only for the upwardly mobile, the fancy folks of the society, the Indranagars and the South Delhis and the South Bombays, right? It's meant for everyone. In fact, in our first avatar, which was the D2C avatar and B2C avatar, we were present in every single district of India, catering to the bottom of the pyramid at a price point where even a lower middle income segment person could afford our products. Now in the new avatar, what we have seen is, we've got products which are, let's say, half the price of paneer, right? And it is now going really well across food service. From wonderful Harpreet talked about Proti Roti, where we've been fortunate enough to partner with him and creating Proti Roti for Tips Frankie. We've worked with Eat Fit now. We've worked with Barbecue Nation, where everywhere they've realized it's a new protein that can be used to create exciting experiences for everyone, not only vegans, but vegetarians, non-vegetarians alike. It's something that everybody can enjoy, and it's a culinary play after all. So we are creating an ingredient, giving it to experts like Chef Manjeet and other wonderful folks here who can create exciting culinary options for customers.
You've already answered my another question. Thank you so much. Okay, coming to you, Harsh. Tell me, what is the newness that you can get to your sweet in terms where people enjoy, they find it exciting, and you've got something on the table for them. How do you create that? We're keeping what fundamentals, or what have you been experiencing since now?
So essentially, Mithai is relating and tying back to nostalgia. It has a lot to do with roots and tradition. So for the lack of use...
I'll interrupt you here. So each state has its own kind of a set of sweets. Do you develop on those lines, or do you take a ad hoc calculations and aggregation that this is what you need to do?
So we're currently catering to the more north side of India, where North Bengal, Indore, Maharashtra, the kind of mithai we eat here. So mithai ranges from Kaju Katli being sugar-free to Jalebi being sugar-free to Gulab Jamun. Moving on to Bengal, where we do Rasgulla, Rasmalai, Shandesh and stuff like that. I feel that mithai, as traditional as it gets, works the best, because a lot of people don't want to bastardize the idea of let's shove like chocolate into a Kaju Katli and make it a bar and add granola on top. I rather have a Kaju Katli as it is. While of course to cater to a younger audience, we have something like a Tiramisu Peda, Red Velvet Laddu, so on and so forth, where to fulfill the consumer experience, as much as I sort of revolutionize mithai being sugar-free, I want to keep the taste traditional, because when people walk into our store, they know what they want.
So how do you cater to this? I'll ask you.
I'll just complete my statement. Thank you.
Sorry.
So when someone walks into my store and they want to eat a mithai, they sure of they want a motichur laddu, to wohi khane aayenge. I have seen people, because in Mumbai there's a lane in Juhu where they have 4 mithai shops. People come from one to another and then another till they find what they want. There's this particular pan ki mithai. I've never eaten it, but I know of the existence because people walk in for that. So tradition never leaves mithai as much as you modernize it. And to attract a customer audience which is Instagram savvy today, you have to have something different. Like we sell some random rubbish one influencer came and created called the milk chocolate jalebi. I said I would not even sell it, but because it got so popular, it millions of views, people started coming to buy it. It adds to my sales. I will still sell it, but my traditional Imarti Ghevar jalebi will always sell better.
So my question was, how do you cater to the younger generation? Wow.
You'll be surprised that India is moving backwards in terms of their traditional roots. Like a lot of people have mentioned today that a lot of specialized local cuisine restaurants have opened. And we are going backwards in terms of our eating habits. Like I love to eat bajra, which is eaten in Rajasthani households, which my grandmother used to eat. I love eating that today because again, protein, I eat millets, I eat a lot of that. Similarly, the younger generation has come back to eating mithai. I know a lot of kids who come to my store and they can't probably speak properly. So instead of rasgulla, they'll be like dasgulla. And they'll be like, wo khana. And I'm like surprised that at that age, I probably wanted chocolate pastry and the parent is like, nahi, inko pastry nahi pasand hai, inko rasgulla khana hai. And we don't give our children sugar. So we'll give them that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, Abhinav, I have a question for you. What is the newness you give from your protein in terms of a variety for a menu or for a cafe? And how do you create that from the same base product? My question is, you have one base product that is soya, if I'm correct?
Yes and no. Yes, soya is an ingredient. We use soy protein, pea protein, wheat protein, oats flour, chickpea flour, and lots of ingredients in our products. And we create unique textures, right?
Okay.
And then the same product, in fact, that let's say a dhaba guy uses and makes and calls it a soya chap tikka, right? The same product a Sofitel will use and call it, a mock chicken or plant protein bruschetta, right? And again, to plug in tips, because I'm a huge fan of this, they will call a proti roti roll and so on. So it's a texture. Again, think of it for a vegetarian. Let's say when we go out now, apart from paneer, the options for protein, that was what Chef Manjeet was saying earlier, something that satiates you. Protein satiates you. To get that satiety out of dal, you have to consume lots of it. But paneer will give you that satiety, but then that becomes very unidimensional. So we are giving chefs and food service providers as well as customers a new protein, a new texture that they can create, from a keema to a tikka to a biryani to a curry to a pizza topping to a roll filling to a what have you.
So are you focusing, when you focus on this product, so you look at it at the international market, or you're looking at the local market?
Both. So our products we export to about 8 countries in our own brands, as well as ingredient play for major Indian as well as international brands. And as I said, our products go to, literally last week's data will show me my product went to Kanyakumari as well as almost till Kargil, right, in India at the same
wonderful.
time. Yeah.
How wonderful. All the best to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, coming back to Mr. RajSekhar Reddy. Mr. Reddy, tell me, how do you create your menus? Keeping the sustainability factor, how do you keep your menu so that it's easy to serve, especially your servers who have a limitation, and easy for them to relate to the guest?
So there are two aspects to this. One is how the menu looks or appears to the customer. Because we have deaf and mute waiters, we have designed the menu such that the entire page is just on one sheet of the menu. So it's a A3 page, and there are as many items that you would have in a folded menu. We have about 120 items, but when customers look at the single page, the first reaction they find is like, oh, limited menu hai. So it's not limited, there are 120, 125 items on a single page menu. So what happens here is when a customer orders, he or she can use the signs which are there on top of the rows and columns, or they can just point the item. And the staff, the deaf and mute staff, they have very good memory, photographic memory in fact. So if you point your finger there, so their mind is able to register that the third column, fourth item is where the finger is pointed. So they don't even have to note it down, because they have some senses missing. This sense is like very, very strong. So that's one thing. Second, all the items are numbered, which is there in like most restaurants. So when we remove an item and add a new item, we normally don't fill that number. So suppose number 7 is removed, so we don't use number 7. Because for the waiters, they use number 7, that number 7 item is the one that is there. So for about 3-4 months, until the next menu item is added, we leave that 7 blank. So that also helps them in communicating very easily. This is on the display part of the menu. Second aspect on the customer experience, of course, we like most restaurants, we use seasonal items. So if say broccoli is a winter product, we have broccoli soup coming in the winters, and it will disappear in the summers, and some other item that is available in the summer comes in. Besides our menu, especially in Mirchi and Mime, we have one item which is curated from a different part of the country. So we have items from Rajasthan, items from Andhra, we have items from West Bengal, from North, from the South, etc. So that the entire experience is given to customers.
So you cover pan India.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was wonderful talking to all of you. Thank you so much.